Good morning, everyone. It's Louisa Carl Munson with the Barefoot Broadcast. And wow, this is the end of our first week of broadcasting, and I've really enjoyed it so far. It's been great. Carl and I have come to blows a couple of times around timing, but I think we're working out quite elegantly. So it's really, really good. And may I just thank my husband right from word go for supporting me to do this.
It's my absolute pleasure.
Thank you very much. And I'm really, really delighted. Sorry, I was about to say something else. What were you going to say?
It's been an exercise in personal growth.
Of course it has. So yeah, it's been fantastic, and we've met some great people. We've had lots of friends joining us, including Owen Lloyd Martin, who's joining us with a hello, everyone. Thank you very much for joining us once again. And I wonder who else is watching right now, because I can see there are a few. So please do let us know where you're listening in from, so I can give you a hello. I'd love to welcome you in. Now, in today's show, we're going to be talking around self-worth. When I advertised this, I actually said self-esteem. And I'm now beginning to wonder if there is a difference between self-worth and self-esteem. And I will be putting that to our guests today. I can see we've already got Dee and Mike Brodie in the green room, I'm guessing. I'm just going to give Dee a little wave. Can you see me, Dee? She's smiling. She's giving me a thumbs up. We've got Sarah Taylor bringing us some morning sunshines. Hello, Sarah. Nice to see you again. Yeah, and we're going to be joined by Dr. Joe Delaney as well. Now, I have to say, he's got a bit of a potty mouth, and he does revel in that as his reputation, or part of his reputation. I've interviewed him before, and I've been on his show, and he talks about, well, lots of things really, but really facing your inner demons. And that may well come up into the conversation today. I'm sure it will. But anyway, before we get going and start to introduce people and get the conversation going, I'd love to know how you're feeling right now in this moment. Like, if you could rate yourself out of like 1 to 10. I think Carl wants to say something.
I have a transformational news item as well.
Oh, and Carl has got a transformation. Would you like to bring it on now?
If you give, well, actually, yeah, if you give me, okay, this is some food for thought. I came across something yesterday. All right, that's cool.
Come on the screen when you're saying this.
Well, yeah, okay.
Let me bring you on. Hang on. Because I always think it's a bit weird. It's almost like I've got the word of God in my ear. Well,
that's how I like it.
Of course you do.
Right. Okay. Well, it's over on my other computer now. So, okay, you've got me on screen, but I haven't got my material. But I can remember what it was about. And there was a course that I saw advertised on Facebook, came up really good.
Yeah.
And this fellow was talking about unearned wisdom. So that's the transformational news item, if you like, today, about unearned wisdom. Just another thing to put into the conversation. Well, he was talking about in this age, and it comes from a Jung quote that that there is a problem with wisdom that is unearned, and I think you get the gist of what that means. It's like we've had conversations about this, like taking heaven by storm, if you like. What he's talking about is wisdom gained in this, in our consumer age. We get the insight, but we haven't worked for it.
Yeah.
Now, I think that's a thing. It is a thing, isn't it? And he talks about, ayahuasca, and this is no disrespect to anybody who works in these areas, but just to illustrate the point, there are weekends you can go on to get wisdom quickly. Now, I know a lot of people involved in that. For example, we've all, we who doesn't want that?
Yeah.
Somebody who wants the internet and a car and a fridge might also want quickly gained wisdom, mightn't they? It's the age we live in now. The point of me mentioning it is to bring it into our collective conversation. We might talk about it on our own school platform, where we won't be censored, where there aren't any adverts, where it's not anything to do with Meta, and we were able to bring it about very quickly, like unearned wisdom. Because of the technologies available to us. But yeah, taking heaven by storm. wanting what maybe eldership brings you, as in getting old. I mean, that should be, to me, one of the beauties and blessings of getting old. Is the wisdom that comes through the experience of becoming old, not trying to be an elder when you're 28. I mean, I've been trying to be an elder, I think, since I was about 13. And you have to wait. Some things you have to wait for, don't you? And it's a very interesting point, I think, that this chap makes. And he's selling a course, funnily enough. He's like, come on my course because I'll make you work for it. And okay, fair enough. Maybe it does work really well. Maybe there's rites of passage, initiation, and those sorts of things. I think that's what he talks about. But isn't that interesting? Unearned wisdom, this idea of taking heaven by storm and not working for it. And it might mitigate in some ways the pain of life, mightn't it? That we go through experiences such that we might be made wise by them. And it's not just another thing you buy at the supermarket. Okay, I'm done.
Oh, I love that. That was such a good talking point. Unearned wisdom. I think we've all probably got some things to say. I can see Dr. Joe has just joined us. He's got the name Dr. Lightheart today. I feel like I've got an imposter. But let me bring him on and wish him, a big... I was going to say a big breakfast, a Barefoot Broadcast. Welcome. Let's have him on now, shall we? Nice old round of applause for you. How are you? It's been a while. Have you changed your name?
No. I think I'm sort of known in the community as Dr. Effinger with a potty mouth, exactly, as you said. But I mean, I won't be like that today. But they also call me Dr. Lightheart. Even though I look miserable most of the time. But I'm smiling. I'm smiling on the inside.
Yes. Now, last time we were together, I think we were both wearing yellow. You know, like we've met up a couple of times and looked bright. And you're in this lovely pink top, which really is kind of Lightheart. How have you been? When was the last time we spoke? It was quite a while ago, wasn't it?
It is quite some time. I've been fine, really. I'm just plodding along really day at a time and just sort of tuning into how I feel from one moment to the next. That's how I seem to work it these days, really. I wake up with one day and make the best of it, and then tomorrow do the same thing again, and it seems to be holding me in good stead. I feel great. I feel emotionally calm and I feel clear-minded. And I think it's working. I'll carry on with this system until it falls apart, really.
And I've seen you've done a few runs since I've last been in touch with you. How many have you done? And what is it that motivates you to do that?
Well, it's a sort of a mindfulness thing, really. It's I don't do it for speed or anything like that, but I just seem to get into a rhythm. This year I completed my 20th marathon, and
wow.
I'm not very fast, but it's just a plod, And my whole sort of thing is if we become aware of our breathing, apparently the Buddha said this, he said that if you just become aware of your breathing, everything else falls into place because it brings you back in touch with your body. It brings you back in touch with your emotional state. And when I'm running or jogging, I sort of get into a ba-bum, 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 and that puts me back into the so-called zone. And it's really in that time, it's almost like I'm moving, but I'm sort of in a state of stillness as well, really. And, I've practiced this a long time. So that was that one. But I also do a lot of wild water swimming as well. And last Saturday, I completed my 4th Cross River Mersey swim, which is quite a difficult swim. Yeah. And it's only 1.25 miles, but it's the 4th biggest tide or current in the world. And so it's quite an achievement, really.
Yeah, and it must be effing freezing.
Well, I don't like to swear these days. Yeah, it is. It's when you first get in, it's a bit, have I done the right thing, and stuff like that. But once you've completed it, I always have a slight apprehension. I think that's normal beforehand, But once you get moving and get going, it's great.
Wow. Well, that sounds like you've been very busy. Now, I just want to welcome a few more people on. So we've got Gillian joining us, saying happy day, lovelies. Happy day to you too.
Hi, Gillian. Nice to see you.
And we've got Squire of the Shies joining us as well, saying hello and good day all. Very nice to have you watching us again and joining us. And because I always think these are like a sort of a co-creation. I always think that when we've got cool people watching, it brings out the best in us as well. It brings out the best in everyone. So the whole title for this is like, where does your self-worth come from? And in a sec, I'm going to bring on Dee and Mike Brodie, who I think you're going to really love. I mean, they are real dear hearts. We got like you, the light heart. We've got these guys, the dear hearts. What's your first thought about self-worth? And then I'll bring Mike and Dee on to say hi as well.
Got to do stuff. You've got to actually take action and do stuff that's worthy to get self-worth, really. You know, it's self-worth to me is a sort of deeper feeling, you know, because I've fooled myself for years, really. And I think there is a difference between self-worth and self-esteem. You know, I think they come from different parts of us. One's a sort of, one's a shallow processing, which is a thinking thing. But I think self-worth, you know, to me at least, it's an honest feeling at depth, really. And for a long time, I had loads and loads of different qualifications and I was pretending to feel good about it. But in my heart, I knew something was amiss, really. So to me, there's a difference. One's, to use a technical word, one's cognitive. What's he doing, that fella there beside you? Is he pinching your bottom or something?
No, it looked like it.
Hey, Joe. Hi, mate.
You want to say hello?
Hi, Joe. Lovely to see you.
And you, mate. And you.
He was just turning his mic down. I think maybe I'd left his mic up. Right. And maybe he wanted to pass wind or something. So he came, turn the mic down. I don't know if that is really. It's more, you know, to like shelter us from the sounds of mayhem and madness. You know, we've got 2 kittens, 2 dogs and 3 kids. So it can be a bit bonkers here sometimes. I love what you're saying. So self-worth then like has a sort of deeper feeling, you know, it's an honest feeling of depth.
I think so. I mean, some people might get it the other way around, but to me, self-worth is how do I really, really feel about myself? You know, am I pretending? And I think these days I'm not pretending anymore. I really don't care. Yeah. You know, I'm sort of reasonably synchronized between me head and me heart, really. But for a long time, I was doing stuff in almost like to impress people, getting all these qualifications and stuff, when in my heart, it wasn't really meaning anything because I didn't feel like I was in a job that I hated. Although it had reasonable esteem, you know, but something was missing, really. And I know what that was now, you know. And so after years of stress, anxiety, depression and suicidal thinking, you know, I got myself into a right state and tried to do myself in, you know, because I just didn't feel like I didn't have a purpose, really. But that changed, fortunately. I didn't go, you know, I sort of almost got kicked around at the gates of heaven or hell or whatever that was. And almost like sort of guided back by my intuition, really, as ER son will show you how it goes. So just pay attention, you know, and that's where I'm up to today.
Wow. Yeah. And if anyone is interested in learning a little bit more about Joe's backstory, I'll pop a link into our first chat because we spoke about that. And I really liked how, I guess, how grounded and really real you were about the pain that you're going through in a way that I think most people could understand. Yeah. You know, we all have these ups, we all have these downs, and for a lot of us, we sort of bullshit our way through the downs and pretend they don't happen almost, and we focus on up here, a bit like, you know, your head and heart. We focus up here. Look at me, be dazzled by my thinking, but not by my heart.
Yeah, and I think a lot of it's showing off, you know. And I was a big show off. But always felt like, you mentioned imposter before. I had this thing, imposter syndrome, because I didn't really believe that I was capable of what other people thought that I was capable of, you know. And so I've come back down to earth with a bump. And I think everybody almost has to, it's almost like a time at the moment in my mind where everybody's going through this great shift and they're almost having to become sort of more honest with themselves, really, and own up. You know, and I think it's all part of a big cycle that's going on and all that sort of stuff. Well, you know more about that than myself, you know. So.
Well, I don't know. I really don't know. My views change on almost like a minute by minute basis. Yeah. I'm always just kind of like feeling in, a bit like you. I'm feeling into what feels right now, and that might be really different. We've got a lot of people commenting. So Squire the Shies is saying, I can relate to that, Dr. Joe. Kimberly Jones, hello. Hey. Good morning, you lovely lot, she's saying. Gillian saying, we're Joe's groupies. So it's a really lovely feeling. It's so nice to have you all with us. I'm going to bring Dee and Mike now, because I think they'll really relate to that as well. And I think the Love Fest can really, truly begin. Let's bring on Dee and Mike as well. And a round of applause for them too. Now, Dee and Mike, I've called you the Brodies. I hope that's okay. Because obviously, to me, you're the mighty Brodies.
It's okay with me. Yeah.
How are you both doing? How are you feeling?
I mean, so the conversation so far has prompted a huge number of thoughts in my head, as you'd expect, I guess. And I don't know where to start, really. But anyway, I'm feeling great. Good to meet you, Joe.
And you, mate.
Joe.
And how are you, Dee? How are you feeling?
Yes, I'm good this morning. Good to meet Joe, and lovely to see you, Louisa, as always. We've been travelling for a week. Well, no, 4 days in the north of Portugal, and that's been really lovely.
Gorgeous.
But you know what it's like. It's good to come back to your own bed. So I appreciated that last night.
Yes.
Very nice.
If you don't mind me revealing, Dee and Mike are actually going through a transition right now. It's not the kind of transition that everyone's talking about, but you're actually kind of moving house, aren't you? And
yes.
So you're kind of in between houses at the moment. So I would imagine you're feeling here, there and everywhere. So I'm glad you've had a good night's sleep.
Yes, it was very good. We are feeling a bit like that because the house is pretty empty now, as you know, because you've got most of our stuff.
Yes.
Your garage.
Yes, our garage is rather full at the moment.
Yeah.
So I know you've been listening in. What do you think? Because I did pose that question about self-esteem and self-worth. I'm sure you've got some things to add. Would you agree with what Joe was saying in terms of the depth?
Who's going first?
You.
Okay. So, what Joe said, I'm interested in if there is a difference between self-esteem and self-worth. I know that when the Dalai Lama came to the West, he was really shocked because there was no such thing as low self-esteem in Tibet, in the people that he knew in his life. There was no such thing. So I'm interested in what the hell is that? Where does that come from? And then the other thing that comes to mind is that I know, because when I'm meditating and when I'm in that space, I remember the experience of being born and being separate and thinking I'm wrong, there's something wrong with me. And I know that's where my really intrinsic lack of self-worth comes from. It's that deep and that old. And I like Joe, I'm and like you, Louisa, it's an ongoing process the whole time of how do I address that? What I'm in that inquiry a lot. So that's where I am.
Wow. May I say, I'm always quite staggered when you say that about yourself, because knowing you as I do, I just I see so much worth and value. Would you agree with that, Mr. M?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, that was an
So what did you say? Was that yes?
He was saying absolutely.
Wow.
There are some people. Do you want to join us on screen?
No.
Okay. He's going to be secret.
I can't.
There are some people that you think, wow, they're so kind of cool, and they've really worked on themselves, and they've really become awareness. They have a really good awareness of things. I would hope that they value themselves or feel the worth of them, because we really feel it. Is it something that other people feel on your behalf, maybe? Because I totally value you as well, Joe.
Well, I think, as Dee's just said, it represents something much, much deeper that goes back into our ancestral heritage, really. And the word I've looked at it is, it could be considered to be the original fall from grace, I think, and that separation that went on a long, long time. And I think that we're all being faced now, almost to turn our heads backwards and start to retrace our steps, where we've made choices based upon either fear or pride, or desire, and I think that anything that wasn't in line, I'm becoming a bit technical here, but anything not in line with our original essence or our original template right, is a misalignment. And I think that we're being presented now with opportunities to make the right choice now. And that almost like it's a karmic sort of re-engineering and clearing the pathway, as the Buddhists say, to get back to the smiling face of the universe, you know, our original smiling face. So that's the way I see it. It's an energetic process. And it's all really...
Yeah, I won't say any more after. I know this is quite disconcerting to be the voice of God coming in. and the first thing I thought, so when we were talking, when Louisa was talking to you, Dee, about, you know, how is it? You know, we just hold you in such high esteem. And this happens for lots of humans, isn't it? Others hold them in high esteem. They don't necessarily see it themselves. And when you asked me, do I want to be on the screen? I was thinking, oh, I better get on the screen because I don't want to hurt anyone's self-esteem. It's the way we're conditioned, isn't it? It is how our society operates, that we're looking to be insulted, offended, to be made less than. And that makes so much sense, Joe, that we're at the crossroads of a different kind of choice or a retraining in this.
And I really love this comment from Kimberly. For me, this word really sums it up, which is homesickness. You know, like what Joe's saying, the fall from grace. Dee, you being, you know, birthed and feeling that sense of separation. Wow, Mike, you look deep in thought. What's going on?
Yeah, well, that's my speciality, being deep in thought. I don't know. Yeah. So where I've gone is that that basically it seems to me that it's fundamentally, for me, it's all about integrity. And when I say integrity, I don't mean by doing what we should be doing. I'm talking about being completely consistent upon all levels of our being and doing.
Wow.
So that when we meet another, we are completely trustworthy because we are consistent, and being consistent, others can trust us. But what it takes for us to be consistent is to actually understand what's going on in our, you know, and our nonces, or whatever you want to call them. And for me, we are this very uncomfortable mix of a violent, self-serving, but meaningless animal that is out to, whose main job is to survive. And then we've laid on top of that. I mean, I'm iffy about the word spiritual because I've never really seen myself as spiritual, but I think I am in terms of our language. But the higher aspects of ourselves that actually get the sense that fundamentally we're at one with each other, and play. And the thing is, and what happens is our animal brain actually creates huge numbers of stories for survival. So, there's a stripy-looking cat out there. It must be a tiger or whatever. So I'll avoid tigers because I know something happened once with tigers. But we've developed that, and I think we've got these thousands and thousands of sub-personalities that pop up to protect us based on the past. And then we meet someone and we don't know how to judge them. So I was nervous coming onto this because, you know, what on earth are we going to be asked? What's the conversation going to be about? You know, will I measure up to the other people on this show, etc. All that stuff going on, and one of the things which I learned quite a few years ago is that the only thing you can be in complete integrity about is your lack of integrity. And so
that's an interesting twist.
Because actually everything we say and do is our view, is an interpretation, is putting meaning on the world, which is our meaning and our interpretation. And inevitably it cannot be true because it's just one of at least 7 billion, is it, if you don't take animals and mosquitoes and ants into account. You know, there's an awful lot of views of consciousness, has an awful lot of views on the world. And for us to And so all we can do is attempt to be in integrity and to own up to all the rubbish that's going on in the background. And I say this as someone who hasn't had an enlightenment experience. I don't know what it, I'd love to have had an enlightenment experience and say, oh, actually, I know how it all works. It's all. I can't believe anyone's actually got there, because I think the moment you get there, there's probably other realms of not knowing. So I don't know if that's answer.
I'm not sure. I feel lots of questions have extra questions have come up, and that's also very good, because I just like how these conversations move. Like when I think about all the other conversations I had this week, we've really kind of been loose around the around the core subject, because I think it's more important to follow where it goes. Where the attention goes is where we should go, really. Joe, you've been nodding a lot, and I'm sure you got some things you might want to add.
Yeah, what I've learned is that if we're feeling nervous, irritable, discontented, and basically ill at ease or diseased, it's the ego part of us, not the divine. That's the way I look at it, really. And I think any trigger that causes, like Carl's just said, is we're not responsible for anybody else's feelings, really, or their reactions to what we do, unless it's a physical one, of course. But I think every time I get a grip in my gut now, or I get a tension of some sort, it's an ego threat, mostly unconsciously, because and what I've learned is that we process information in our thinking bit, the cognitive, but there's also 4/5 under the surface that we're not aware of, that are being emotionally processed. So this is about energy processing at various different levels, and like Mike just said, it's all about pattern recognition. But I think we're in a phase now where we're going through this great big shift of consciousness where we've not been here before, and there's nothing to sort of refer to, really, because it's completely open. And it's up to us now whether we want to sort of trust the process and go forward and create something beautiful based upon a more integrated sort of action. I personally, the sort of philosophy that I'm following at the moment is that there's actually 12 dimensions available to all human beings, and this is based upon the old sort of Kabbalistic system that used to be 10 spheres of consciousness, but has recently moved now to 12, which puts us completely back in line, So there's all these things that I'm interested in. And I think if we look at that, the heart is the center of this, with these sort of 12 sort of spheres of consciousness attached to it. And what's actually happening now is they're all opening up now, and there's all these different consciousness streams coming in, for us to emotionally process and make sense of. So, I mean, I know I'm going on a bit, but as Mike says, it's how we make meaning of things is basically, or our perception. And the phrase is, isn't it, that we don't see the world as it is, we see the world as we are. And that all depends on the programming that we've gone through, the conditioning and the filters, really. So I think there's my truth, your truth, and then the truth, and I think that maybe what I'm trying to work towards on a daily basis and breath by breath is getting close to the ultimate reality. I don't know, Louisa. These are the things that come to me. But when I get a grip in the gut, I sit back, sort of mindfully, create some space, and almost ask my intuition, what is that? And then I get, well, you've just said yes there when really you should have said no. You were people pleasing. Go back and say that you've changed your mind. You're awfully sorry for messing people around. And what happens then is when you take the right action, the energy floods back into your system, your self-worth and self-esteem, because you've just made the right choice. And then you can go forward then with more power, more courage, more enthusiasm, and more vitality.
What a great definition. I love that. Carl's wearing you back.
That one. It's great.
That was a really, really good summing up, actually. That's the end of the show then.
Yeah. I don't have to go on. You can say, shut up now, Joe. Stop.
No, actually, what I'd like to do is I just want to go back to you, actually, Mike, for a minute, just to really thank you for challenging yourself when you weren't feeling completely comfortable. I really like what Joe was saying, in such, sorry, that was me trying to point to your face on the screen. I should have gone that way. These silly mirrors. When he was saying, those triggers when they come up, that's not the real you, is it? That feeling of disease, because you know, in my mind, you're this divine being. But in that moment, it's the ego and the sort of insecurities that maybe come up. So I'm really pleased that you know, decided to come anyway, even though you weren't feeling that comfortable. And you're right, it is weird, isn't it? You know, you're on a show, you don't know who you're going to be talking to. Am I going to measure up? I think I feel that too when I go to somewhere. That's really honest of you.
Thank you. And you know, I think this is so important, because you often hear about gurus who sort of create this amazing following and then get corrupted by the power they've taken on. And fundamentally, it seems to me that's because they spent the whole time pretending that there's something that they're not. Now, and if they've actually been honest about the insecurity they feel, the you know, how difficult it is to be in their position with everyone thinking they're perfect, etc., etc., etc. If they've been really honest, first of all, I think people would trust them more rather than be their unquestioning followers. They'd actually have really trusting friends and supporters that would be assisting them much more through their journey. But this thing about having to pretend we're perfect and we've got it all sussed, I've met quite a lot of people in my time, and I don't think I've met a single person who doesn't have insecurities, you know, these thoughts that they're not worthy in the world, all that stuff. And it's okay. You know, but it's people that pretend they haven't got it.
I think we all heard that, Carl.
I just said, in a way that you might appreciate this, Dr. Lightheart. I just said, "Oh fuck it, I can't stay off screen. This is too good." So, Mike, thank you for that. Sorry, and I interrupted you with my dramatic entry there.
Yeah, stop it, Carl.
All right.
This is your ego, Carl. Just get off the screen again. What did you want to say?
No, I came. You inspired me to be back on the screen. I can't stay out of this conversation. It's too interesting and wonderful. And sorry, I interrupted you. Do carry on, because what you were saying there. Just I was thinking, okay, I can't just sit over here. I've got to come and listen properly and soak this up.
Well, thank you, Carl. Unfortunately, I was channeling all that, and the connection.
Did I ruin it? I've ruined it.
You've broken your channel.
Well, my self-esteem.
While we're all connecting, can I just pop some of the great comments that are coming up on the screen? So I love this one from Sarah. Self-worth equals I belong here and I'm honest with myself, warts and all.
Yeah.
Flipping love that. I love that. I think that's great. And she's saying a random thought, of course. She's saying, love it, Dr. Joe. And we've got a couple from Squire of the Shires. I used to regard my self-worth as useless to others to fix, mend and solve problems through my work without having the time for anything else. When I retired due to health issues because of my hard-lined routines, it was like a reset, an awakening of my hobbies and interests, reorientating towards a more meaningful, happy life. Wow. I'm so pleased you did that and shared that as well, because I for one, you know, like both Carl and I are making careers out of our hobbies, and it's not always easy to do that. But yeah, I can't fix myself into a little box. Thank you so much for sharing that.
I think what got me going there, Mike, was you're saying, you know, I've met a few people in my time, and not one of them was free of these insecurities. And suddenly what occurred to me was like, then why are we playing this massive game on a global scale? Like, how about an amnesty? You know, how about, you know, we had the lockdown pandemic. We had the global intervention into well-being, didn't we? Where it's like, okay, quick, we need to do something to stop this terrible thing taking over humanity and killing us all. This is killing us all, isn't it? The thing you're talking about, people pretending, people hiding. I'd lock down for that. I'd wear a mask. I'd stop wearing a mask for that. You know, how about a global intervention? If there was truly a World Health Organization, it would declare, wouldn't it? Boutros, what's his name? Boutros Ladies Underwear, whatever he's called, would say, okay, this is it. We're all bullshitting each other. It stops here. How about we just like step up to and step into who we really are? We wake up from the night, from the nightmare that's a dream, and we be our true selves.
Yeah, but
Wow.
because there's an agreement. If you don't call me out on my inauthenticity,
Yeah.
you don't tell me that I'm inauthentic, I won't tell you that you're inauthentic.
Right.
Oh, that is
Yes,
a game
true.
that's being played for sure.
Yeah.
Do you know?
I think we're in the realms of unearned. What was it? Unearned wisdom.
Oh,
Unearned
Yes.
wisdom, yeah.
You've got to earn it. It's like this isn't a. It's getting faster, this track, but it has been very well in our. You know, we're old, so in our lifetime we've been at it for 40 years. You know, it isn't like that anymore. It's a lot quicker, but you know, we're still doing it. I'm sitting here feeling, am I worthy to be on this call?
Oh my God, Dee, you so are.
Are you?
Well, you know, I definitely, you know, speaking up is not an easy thing for me. I can, you know, sit here and, as you say, look wise or whatever, but speaking up is not an easy thing. So that my self-worth is really challenged by just being here, speaking, you know, listening to you thinking, oh my God, I haven't got anything to say about that, or I don't know, you know, what I've got to say is not valuable about that. So I'm interested in that too. So it goes on all the time for all of us.
Yeah. No, I totally understand and hear that.
What I'm really pleased you're here as well, by the way, both of you Broads, and I hope you enjoy this enough to come back another time as well. By the way,
my heart is open, Dee,
yeah.
like a pair of barn doors at the moment. So if that's, you know, maybe you don't do it with words, maybe you do it just by being here, and we don't put a great value on that, do we? It's all about the words, and that's the culture we live in, isn't it? The gurus are the ones who are good with words or marketing or something like that, and the person who you meet at a bus stop who has your heart almost fall out of your chest doesn't have a platform except a bus stop. So it's something to do with the world we live in, isn't it?
Yeah.
Beautiful, Carl. I love that. I love that. And maybe it's good.
So I've got to say something. This is about wisdom, unearned wisdom. I think wisdom is always unearned. I think it's experience that shows us what works and what doesn't work. And I think that it's collapsed with the idea of being an elder, because wisdom is something which happens to you as you have more and more experiences and you find out what works. Being an elder is something which is ascribed to you by your society. Mm-hmm. You know, it's not something you can be, it's something others see you as. Because, and they'll only see you as an elder. I mean, let's take, is Joe Biden an elder? I don't want to get too political here.
You're not in the same place then.
I think he's elderly.
Yeah. I don't see him as an elder. I see him as a rather aged, unhappy, and very, very sad little boy, basically, who's trying to make the world into something safer for himself. So, and what I see is he, for some reason, he hasn't attained in any wisdom, but he's been promoted to being an elder.
Yeah.
Oh, what a great example! Yeah.
Bruce Lee said sometimes old age is just grey hair.
Yeah.
That's a searing indictment, isn't it?
I've got that. Not much. I've got that.
We've all got that, haven't we? Wow, yeah, that hurts a little bit, but that was to encourage us, wasn't it, Joe?
Well, I think what he's trying to say is that, you know, people, even young people, sometimes used to look up to older people as though they were more wise, you know. And I think you can have loads and loads and loads of knowledge, but have no wisdom whatsoever. And as you say, Mike, I think it's personal lived experience and felt experience that brings wisdom as well. It's almost like an embodying of the experience, you know. And I think, but it's also, it's not just that in my mind anyway, it's also reflecting upon it as well. And I think, you know, being able to sit back and almost be objective about your own subjectivity, you know, where you detach from it really. So that's another feeling that I've got on these things. Could be bollocks, of course, but, you know, but that's just the way I see things, you know.
To be fair, this whole thing could be bollocks, couldn't it? Yeah. Well, I'm loving it. I would
love to hear Joe Biden say that. You know, at the end of a massive presidential. I mean, that would be so endearing, wouldn't it? if at the end of, and thank you, Mike, for talking about him in a way that actually I felt love for him as a human being. When you said he was like a sad little boy who is making himself feel safe, I can relate to that, and I can respect that in a way that I can't respect what I think is the big pantomime going on that I'm actually resentful about. But when you put it like that, then I can see a frail old man who's doing his best and is in a horrible system. So it's compassionate when you put it in that way.
And we have put him there.
We hold him there, don't we?
Yeah.
Oh, I just want to say something. Left field here. You look like a Chinese sage because your microphone to me looks like a little beard. You look like
Okay, I'll send you a screenshot of that. I'll send you a screenshot. Can I make a screenshot so you can put it in your shrine?
Yeah.
It's silver as well, which is great.
Yes. Did you see that? Can you see it? Yeah.
You're welcome.
Do you know, I want to share something. When you were talking about like us having an amnesty on our bullshit and all of us just calling out and saying, do you know what, I know nothing, or I know a little bit about a few things, but really I'm not like an expert on anything. When I thought of that as a possibility, I was really shocked to think I'd never actually thought of that as a possibility. Of all the things we conjure up in our heads on what the world might need and how we might serve better, or I don't know, how we might just enjoy our lives, it wasn't a thought. Like, why wasn't that a thought that had come up before? Wouldn't it be great if we could all just like take our bullshit out and just operate from our hearts?
Yeah.
And it's reminding me, like Gillian's saying, why are we playing the disempowerment game? And it's because we're trained into it. And I think we are trained into, like you say, Mike, or is it Joe? I can't remember now. But, we endorse each other's bullshit because it's a secret but kept between everyone. I won't tell anyone you're not an expert if you don't.
Yeah.
Oh, it's fascinating. Where to now in this conversation? Who's got something that wants to come out?
I'd like to say something. So somebody, I think it was Joe, said, or it might have been Mike, I can't remember. It could have been Carl or Louisa. Somebody said something about the way we see the world is from our personal truth. It was about truth. It was Joe.
It was Joe.
And I so agree with that. It's like we see the world through our own filters. And our truth, my truth is not the same as Joe's truth or Mike's truth or anyone else's truth. And there is probably only one universal truth. And we are all in this game together, trying to convince other people that our truth is true.
Yes.
It can never be. It's just, it can never be. That's
yes. And I agree, and I think it's got worse over the last few years since our world was in many ways constricted or changed through the narrative of the pandemic. All of a sudden, a big truth was kind of forced onto everybody. Anyone that had a counter opinion was kind of silenced and pushed away and gaslit. And we were encouraged not to trust ourselves and our instincts and maybe some of the common sense we'd known from our ancestors, like little family folklore about what it is to be ill. Like before 3 years ago, I was pretty sure I always had symptoms, and that was how I knew I was ill. So that one was a big change. But, I think in the last 3 years, where there's been that kind of compression on what is said and what is known, all of a sudden people have become a lot more forceful in what they've believed. I almost see it as like this big zit that's about to explode everywhere.
Yeah. I think you've really put your finger on it there, Louisa. My feeling is that it's actually about, I was talking earlier between the us as the self-serving animal and the social being.
Yeah.
That basically, sort of humankind has worked because we're social, and the competitive bit as well contributes to it. But we need to be, as animals, we need to be both social and competitive. But what's happened is that there's been the global conversation has moved, and to say someone's responsible for it isn't responsible. The global conversation has moved from being social, because being in Portugal here, it's been fascinating talking to Portuguese people about the way they see each other and the way families work, etc., which on some levels is really lovely, that they see each other as families. But actually, very often you'll find that the members of the families don't actually hate each other and never talk to each other. There's this combination going on in Portugal. But the global emphasis has been upon individuality. And that's been pushed by social media, self-promotion, having to work hard for yourself at the expense of society. Margaret Thatcher, I think, famously said, there's no such thing as society. That you've got to look after yourself and your family. And of course, family is a little society. So it's sort of, that doesn't make sense either. But we've been pushed towards competing with each other at the expense of supporting each other. And I think this is where the whole thing of truth and trust comes. Because for me, I've actually given up. Well, no, my mind hasn't, but I've given up trying to understand the truth, because I know that my mind is just not up to the scale of the task. Because the truth is infinite, my mind is very finite.
Oh, wow.
And that all that's available is trust. So if we start living from being trustworthy, people start to trust us. If we try and live from the truth, we're just going to be fighting.
Marvelous.
I love
So
that.
Jack Nicholson was right then. We really can't handle the truth, can we? It's just too much.
I think that we can, one breath at a time. I think we, there's almost like a parallel thing going on here. One verse, egocentricity and heart centricity. And I think that's the difference. The ego is head centric. It's big, and capitalism, capitis means head, so one's driven by an one's driven by an underlying head centricity, which is based on capitalism and materialism. But then when you can start to let go of that, because I think there's a global disintegration happening for a purpose, because of bigger things, and I think that we're all being sort of, it's like a Zen thing, let go or be dragged now. So we're being asked to let go of former patterns and work beyond mind, because the mind contains the memories of what's gone before. So we're almost like being asked to let go, sink deeper into this void of we've never been here before, but to come back guided by the heart in creativity rather than defensiveness. I'm going on again here, but it's I think that it's a very positive time, and the thing about egocentricity, that's all very defensive, and it's all very sort of masculine dominated, and I think there's another thing coming back in, where there's an energy coming in now that's more feminine, it's more nurturing, it's more compassionate, it's more caring, but you can only get to it by breathing one breath at a time and becoming aware of that, so there's almost, intuition works by sending you information. It's like an emergence really of do this next. So it depends on which information that you're acting upon really, and where that's coming from. So to me, that's all about discernment. But I think the heart will guide us through the discerning process and allow us to work on what's true for us as individuals. Last thing, right, I think that the way forward is about collective individuality, but from a heart-centered motivation, really.
Yes.
Christ, I feel like the Pope now in nominee part, not that other Pope. No, I'll shut up now before.
Too late, Joe. It's too late. We've appointed you the new Pope. You've got the job.
Bless you.
Oh my God, he just blessed me.
Can you walk now?
Everyone, yes.
Yeah.
I can walk again.
Oh my God. I love both of those comments actually, because oh my God, I just don't know where to go. So actually I'm going to go to the comments because we've got loads coming in. Suze was saying, I read a popular book while in 8th grade. It was a beginning. Book was I'm Okay, You're Okay.
Remember that.
And she's also saying that book got me started. It seems to me it's a lifelong project to be okay with oneself. I would agree with that. Thank you so much for sharing. Sarah's got a cracking question here. Do you think that in addition to blowing ourselves up and faking it to fit in, that we also make ourselves smaller in order to not stand out and seem egotistical? Boom. What else is coming in? There's so many. She goes on to say, when in fact every single person contributes when they are being themselves. Thank you for your honesty and vulnerability. I'm going to take that to everybody because I think everyone here is being like that. Kimberly saying, I know plenty of older people who are anything but wise, and young people who seem to be channeling timeless wisdom from somewhere.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Me too. Enjoying the humanness in this conversation. Thank you, Gillian. Objective truth versus subjective truth. Yeah, I think maybe that is actually I really did like your truth and trust, what you were saying there, Mike, about truth and trust. And at the same time, I do feel that I have moments of knowing the truth, but I just can't hold on to it. And maybe it's because I'm not consciously focusing on my breath. Mostly I'm shouting, get out of my way to one of the new kids.
It's like the sun, isn't it? The sun is the truth in that sense, isn't it? It's a guiding light, literally. It guides everything in our...
The newspaper.
Not that one, Mike. I'm talking about the thing that we came to Portugal to enjoy more of. It's you have it in your life as a guiding force, but you couldn't handle all of it or be near it. It's a paradox, isn't it? As these things always seem to be.
Wow. Ooh, I'm being attacked by a fly. Gillian, I like this. We all have lunatics inside our cranium.
Hold on, for yourself, Gillian. Speak for yourself.
I'm just checking with mine now. Yeah.
Yeah.
He says you're right, Gillian.
Yeah. And Sarah's also saying collective collective individuality for everyone. Yes. Yeah. I really feel a very strong.
Yeah.
I really felt that massively. So we're coming towards the end of the show. God, lots have been. Well, we can carry on talking for a bit longer if you want to. Where do you think we are in this conversation then in terms of self-worth? Because we've spoken around it. I mean, is it do we have a definition for it, or where it comes from, where we how can we all tap back into it, and do we need to? In these last few years, as I felt a little bit gaslit, and I feared going into conversations in case I've said the wrong thing to the wrong person and being censored and got back bitch slapped and stuff. I realize I've come out of my natural feeling of well-being and maybe natural sense of confidence. And it's I felt really quite vulnerable, I guess is the word, just vulnerable, not knowing, a bit like a kid, not knowing what to do, when you go to school for the first time. How can we rebuild ourselves? Or do we need to?
So I agree with you completely, Louisa. And I think we've talked about truth quite a lot in this hour, whatever it is. And I think it is, as the famous landmark, which is a course we did many years ago. It's like being authentic about your inauthenticities and fessing up when you're feeling anything. I think that's what it takes me to know that I'm valuable. It's like fessing up. Oh, like this morning, I don't find speaking up easy. I go kind of blank, I go whoop. And as soon as I do that, as soon as I face my own truth and I speak it, then my self-worth feels a lot happier, and I feel a lot more aligned with my truth and with the universe. So there's something here about being vulnerable. You said the word vulnerable, being prepared to be seen to be vulnerable, to own it. And then it gives the other person, it gives them the opportunity to be vulnerable. And then you start having a very heart-centered, meaningful conversation, because all the other stuff is like bluster. We're pretending to be somebody we're not. And that's not a really true conversation. You're not meeting with a part. You're tussling with something. So for me, that's what I get out of this conversation.
Without because you could easily say, God, I'm so stupid about that. Why? But actually, just really recognizing, like Joe Biden, that bit of our personality was designed. We designed it to try and survive something which seemed unsurvivable, and that it needs loving. It all needs loving, and it's any situation. What would love do? Someone said. I can't remember who it was, but it's that calm was it. Yeah.
Mm.
The world needs any situation, more love, not less.
Yeah. Yeah.
Funnily enough, that was one of the last things that we ended yesterday's show on, actually. What would love do?
It just reminded me of that. Absolutely. Yeah.
Such a good
heart-centered communication, as Joe says, it's coming from our hearts, not our wanting to impress and it's difficult when we've been trained not to do that the whole of our lives. It's really difficult to start that.
If we ask each other, how do you see things and how do you feel about it, and then you tell the truth,
yes,
and have the courage to do that. It's not for anybody else to say. Well, they can say, well, I don't see it like that. I see it like this. But it's when we get into conflict and arguments about it, that's when all the trouble starts, So when people say to me, why didn't you take the vaccination? I can say, well, I weighed up all the evidence, right, and it didn't feel right to me. And then again, well, you should have, because you've put everybody else in danger. And then I either just smile at them and open my heart and send them love, or punch them with love, or turn around and, or turn around and walk away, because I also feel that, I might change my mind, or should I say, my mind may change tomorrow and I may make the opposite decision. So I never know what's coming up. And people say to me, what should I do here? And I say, I don't even know what I'm going to do. So please don't ask me what you should do. Why don't you dig in there? Go and ask your heart, and try and ask your heart to guide you. Because if I tell you something and it doesn't work, you're going to blame me. But you're responsible for the choices you make, not me. So I'm very sort of blunt with stuff now. But as it's just been said, it saves a lot of time, to blagging and bullshitting and stuff like that. Really.
I really love that. Do you know what? I haven't actually admitted publicly whether I had it or not. I'm pretty sure most people reading between the lines would know that I didn't. I chose.
Are you talking about vaccination or self-worth now?
Vaccination.
Oh, okay.
But I've never actually felt brave enough to actually say anything publicly, because so many people were like, you're stupid if you don't, you're killing grandma and all sorts of things, you're selfish, all these different things. And, I didn't want to make people wrong necessarily. I just wanted to mind my own business. And but I really liked how you did that, Joe. And thank you, because I didn't either for exactly the same reasons. Weighed up what I had learnt about it and looked at as much different. There were so many unanswered questions, and I just thought that's not for me, and I might change my mind.
I'm seeing that. Thank you for that. I'm seeing that I played a big game with it, and I'm being an asshole about it, because I like to not tell people so that they can. So I could say to them, it's none of your business. I don't tell you how I have sex. I'm not telling you how I have medication either. So piss off and mind your own business. And I just feel so superior when I do that. And I know that that's not a great motivation. So, but it gives me a jump start. It gives me a kind of false self-worth, which is what I didn't realize, or I've only just remembered that that's the question today, isn't it? Is where does your self-worth come from? And I think when it comes from the mind in some sort of smart asshole response, it doesn't last very long. It's good fun, but it doesn't last very long. And it comes back, I guess, in the times we're living, it comes from the heart, which is what a lot of our conversation has been about. And where that led me was as the whole juggernaut of human culture maybe becomes more heart-centered, we might be in a time in another webinar in the future where people are saying, why can't we go back to that head-centered way? I mean, we're all just so mushy and bloody nothing's getting done around. Somebody just talk some sense from their head for a minute. Maybe that will happen one day. I don't know.
Who knows?
Yeah.
Wow. I'm just going to check in with some of the other thoughts coming in from people. So Gillian, in response to what Joe was saying, she's saying, I'm speaking for ourselves, Joe, about this collective individuality. Very clever. I love the idea of being a little bit gaslit. Yeah, I guess are there gradations of being? Is there a spectrum of being gaslit, like from slightly manipulated to being full on abused by him? Yeah, that's a good point. Kimberly is saying Akilanda, the goddess, meaning never unbroken. Don't try to rebuild our old self. Beautiful brokenness. Oh, I love that. And then Sarah is saying, D, I'm tingling all over. And I've got a couple more comments just coming in. I've had no problem telling anyone what I did or didn't do, but it's never been my right to choose for anyone else. Absolutely. That's beautifully put. And I'm getting a round of applause from Sarah.
So you should.
Thank you very much. Actually, I feel very free now I've said that.
Self-worth as well.
Actually, and I think that's actually one of the answers to, I guess, today's question. If there can ever be an answer, I actually feel stronger in myself now I've actually openly said that, because I'm not trying to hide something about myself. I realize that in the last few years I've just stayed really hidden about it. When people have asked me things, I've just said, oh, what did you decide? And I changed the subject completely over and over again, or come up with some kind of platitude. I feel clearer. Thank you so much, Joe.
And it is scary to go against the tide.
It is.
Yes.
It is.
It's scary.
But speaking your truth like that is so inspiring, Joe and Louisa. It's so inspiring. And then it gives us the freedom to be that. It's wonderful.
Here's a little phrase that I really hated when anybody said it, but I'm going to say it now so loads of people can hate me, but it's okay because I love myself. But it's we're only as sick as our secrets. And
Very good. Like that.
Yeah.
Oh my God, that's the move to leave the show on.
Yeah, definitely.
Yes, we're only as sick as our secrets. Wow.
So true.
Okay, well, I'm going to draw this to a close. Have you got any last burning thoughts that you want to get out? And will you come back another time?
Yes, we'll come back. Definitely. Thank you.
Yeah.
I've loved every minute of it, and lovely to meet you all, and thanks very much.
Me too.
Thank you for being here.
Yes, thank you so much for being here.
Group hug.
The master, all of you.
Yeah, I'm grateful for you. And thank you to everybody in the chat room. We've still got more things coming in, which is really, really beautiful. Apparently I did admit it last year to Suze.
Admit it. I mean, the way you put that, admit it. I mean, that's very good. Yeah.
You should never have to hide your truth to comfort others. Oh, what you mean, admit it as if it's like something.
Yeah,
that
that's
you're...
right. Guilty secrets.
Yes, okay. Yeah. Kimberly saying love to you all, and love right back, Kimberly. And Owen Lloyd Martin saying great show. Have a great weekend, everyone. I really think that's it then. Lots of love then. Thanks for watching. And we'll catch you next week. In fact, we've got Sarah Taylor. She's going to be on Tuesday. We've got a really packed week, so please do join us.
Don't miss it.
Yeah, lots of love and catch you.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye for now.
Bye.